Thank you, Chairman Cruz, and members of the Subcommittee on Oversight Agency Action for this very important hearing on willful blindness. I'm president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, based in Phoenix, Arizona, and I request that my written statements be submitted for the record.
Without objection.
I'm here today, taking time away from my family, work, during this last week of our holiest month of Ramadan, a time of fasting and deep atonement, because I could not feel more strongly that our current national and agency direction in combating Islamist-inspired terrorism is deeply flawed and profoundly dangerous. As a devout Muslim who loves my faith and loves my nation, the de-emphasis of radical Islam is the greatest obstacle to both national harmony and national security. Wholesale denial of the truth by many in our government and political establishment is not only dishonest, it infantilizes Muslims while lying to the American people, but it actually emboldens the extremists on both sides of this debate, because the radicals or their cauldrons of Saudi Arabia and Iran end up speaking for Islam. I'm sorry to say that linking Islamism to Islam hands Islam to Saudi Arabia, to Iran, to the Egyptian Sharia state, to Pakistan, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, the Islamic Republic of Iran. They do not speak for Muslims. So when you speak about 1.6 billion Muslims, you're actually handing the narrative to the regimes, not to the people of those governments. It empowers the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and its lobby to maintain their global form of petro-Islam as the only form of Islam. And the OIC lobby is the proverbial elephant in the room. If we are on the side of Muslim dissidents, then we would be on the side of having this debate. America was formed on a debate versus theocracy. I think we are adult enough to have this debate and do it functionally, without saying that we are having a debate in which we demonize 1.6 billion. I would tell you as a Muslim, in this month of Ramadan, that we demonize Muslims by letting the Islamists speak for our community. Neither Islam nor Muslims are monolithic. It is foolhardy in counterterrorism and counter-radicalization work to refuse to acknowledge the role of political Islam and its precursors. The majority of Americans are smart enough to understand that to say that the House of Islam has no problems is just as problematic as declaring that Islam and Muslims are the problem. A national security policy of refusing to say that Islam currently has a problem is dangerous. This surrender, which began just after 9/11, has charted a course towards failure. It has hamstrung our homeland security heroes from addressing any of the most central Islamist precursors of militant Islamists. If the agency actually emphasized the central role of radical Islam and its attendant ideologies, it would shift the entire axis of the agency toward one of beginning to actually address, expose, and engage the root cause of the theocratic strains of political Islam or Islamism, which would begin to make us safer. We can't both hold our homeland security accountable for precursors that then we tell them they can't even engage because all they're looking at is violent extremism. The only way to right this deep misdirection is to shift the center of access from countering violent extremism to countering violent Islamism. You can't hold them accountable to the precursors unless we identify what it is. Our American Islamic Forum for Democracy was founded on the premise that terrorism, ISIS, Al-Qaeda are all symptoms of theocratic beliefs. We formed our organization to counter political Islam and separate mosque and state, just as the founding fathers fought against theocracy. In December, AIFD convened and helped launch a diverse Muslim reform movement that included over 15 organizations. It's a coalition of reformers in the US, Canada, and Europe that is not partisan, very bipartisan, that includes feminists, those who believe in gay rights, and all those issues of left to right, but yet came together to reject political Islam. And if every one of them was here today, they would tell you that the refusal to identify political Islam as the root cause and the conveyor belt that creates radical Islam is the greatest obstacle to the reforming the ideas that churn out these militants. Not one iota of our work would be possible in an environment where government agencies writ large are unwilling to understand and engage Muslim groups domestically and abroad on the diverse interpretations of these core terms, which I listed for you in my testimony. We should be able to have the maturity to engage what does Ummah mean, what does Salafism, what does Wahhabism, what does Islamism mean, jihad. Not to engage those terms is not only dishonest, but it actually marginalizes the very Muslims you want to and you claim to respect. In fact, the administration has not done so because of those who they engage in their advisory circles, like Mariotti from MPAC, and subversively the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is not supposed to engage the government, but yet does because of its influence and its connection to, I would tell you, the OIC lobby in Washington. As an American Muslim who loves my faith and country, I ask that any official and unofficial U.S. government moratorium on the use and understanding of the following terms that I discussed be immediately lifted. Any security apparatus unable or unwilling to connect the dots between nonviolent and violent manifestation of these ideologies is leaving us bare and will continue to miss the signs of radicalization. Fort Hood, Boston Marathon, Chattanooga, San Bernardino, and likely Orlando will show that in every one of these cases, it is abundantly obvious that had security agencies honed in on the continuum of political Islam, theocratic Islam, support of the Taliban, support of many of these other organizations, that ultimately they would have had these individuals on the radar. But they didn't because they're waiting for that final moment when they become violent. I want to end with some recommendations. We need to stop hiding behind offending the OIC and their regimes, which put Muslims like me in prisons every day across the Middle East. We need to transition from the center of gravity of countering violent Islamism, countering violent extremism, to a center of gravity of countering violent Islamism. The U.S. government and public discourse must include a broad spectrum of ideologically diverse voices in the Muslim community, and not just one apologetic voice that doesn't see a problem and is enabling the continued radicalization of our community. It is time to stop engaging Muslim Brotherhood legacy groups in government and media and recognize their misogynist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, and anti-American problematic underbelly and underpinnings. We must at least recognize that they are not the only voice for American Muslims, and we must make women's issues and freedom of conscience a litmus test. These groups, when pressed, will fail. It's time to stop giving credence to the Islamic narrative of the OIC dictatorships over the opinions of Muslims here in America that believe in our liberty and freedom. I ask that you open investigation into CARE's radical ties and other Islamists, and into their extensive network of foundations and poorly hidden branches of many of these Muslim Brotherhood legacy groups. And I ask that you no longer fear offending us by using the terms that we use when we debate these issues within our own communities. Those oppressed by Islamism, including mostly Muslims, depend on your honesty. Homeland Security depends on your honesty, in order that the American people hold them accountable to the natural precursors of violent Islamism.